Things just got real for the Vancouver Canucks as Elias Pettersson's agent J.P. Barry speaks out in a recent interview revealing the shocking truth on Pettersson's future with the Vancouver Canucks and is going as far as saying it may be coming to an end. We have a lot to break down, the massive implications and much more later on in this episode. Before we get into that, I just want to give a big thank you and shout out to you guys for helping us reach 7,000 subscribers. It's awesome to see the community grow, you guys enjoying the content and just following along as we're going into year 2 covering the Vancouver Canucks. So hopefully you guys are enjoying that, but let's hop straight into the first topic today, where we do know, listen, a lot of people spoke out on Pettersson recently. Before we get into the comments, we just need to look at how Pettersson's been playing. 45 points in 64 games after signing his contract extension is not good enough. We know this. We've seen Rick Tocchet speak on how Pettersson trained last offseason, going into the season saying it's unacceptable and it has to change. We've seen Patrik Allvin come out to even say that they're keeping all options open on their superstar going into this year's offseason. Things are getting very hectic, and this led to Pettersson's agent J.P. Barry speaking out in a recent interview. Barry continues on to say it's a business. We all know they had discussions in the last 2 years. We'd be naive to think they didn't explore every possibility with the situation they had this year, so I'm sure that's still possible. Now, this was during the interview when he was asked about the possibility of Pettersson being moved on from the Vancouver Canucks. Now, the biggest thing with Pettersson, listen, the production has not been great. This is the production for someone getting paid $11.6 million. We know year 1 of 8, he expires at the age of 33. The Canucks have 7 more years with Pettersson if he is not moved. The big thing with this, we all know that his no trade clause kicks in on July 1st. So if the Canucks are looking to move on from him, this trade has to happen before then, or Pettersson has the full reins to say, hey, I don't want to go to this team. Find me a better home, which could affect how much value you get. This could be the difference of draft picks or player. So the Canucks management need to figure this out. Now, looking at Pettersson, the biggest thing is year 1 of 8. If he had a down year before signing this contract, you look at this and say, hey, at least we're getting him for cheaper. Coming off a productive season and then signing this contract to dip in production is what hurts the Canucks the most. Coming off a 89-point season, just in 2023-24, we see him follow up with half the points with 45 in 64 games. His career high was 2 seasons prior to this one, 102 points. We're at 39 goals. We've seen his production drop season after season. And listen, I think Pettersson can get it back. When looking at Allvin, he really spoke on saying, listen, it's only been 1 bad year. And like I said, this is a bad year. When you look at how much he's being paid, but Barry continues on speaking on the trade rumors, saying a highly paid player that got a great contract. He wants to do better. I think there's a lot of motivation for him, but I'm not surprised that they are going to push the buttons. He's heard it loud and clear. This really makes it seem like the Canucks management are looking at Pettersson saying, hey, if you're not putting in the effort, and we know Pettersson delayed his return home to Sweden to stay with the Canucks to work in this offseason. He still will be heading home to train, but it seems like he is more bought in on the thought of turning his career around, which is a good sign for the Canucks. But if we see the Canucks management look at this and say, hey, it's not enough, we could see them really push the buttons. Like it said, he's heard it loud and clear. He could be on the move to a new team. Now, he continues on by saying, not really surprised, it's a business, but Elias is planning a big offseason. He's super determined to have a great season next year. Now, this is one of the situations, yes, I love to hear this. I love that PD is looking forward to having a great offseason, bringing that in to turn things around, but that's saying one thing, and we need to see him prove it. This is where things with the management gets a little tricky because you can go into next season if he turns things around. If Pettersson returns to his 102 points or more, this is exactly what the Canucks need to make the next step to contend. Yes, they need to fill out more on the roster, but getting your franchise guy back to that franchise level is what would help the Canucks. But if the Canucks wait till July 1st, as I said, with the no trade clause kicking in, if they go to move him and say the Buffalo Sabres offer Tage Thompson plus, which this is just speculating, then we could see the Canucks say, yeah, sure, let's do it. Then Petey could fully decline it, say, I'm not doing it. I want to go to a more competent team. Sorry, Buffalo Sabres fans. But we need to figure this out sooner rather than later than being stuck with a star player being paid quite a bit of money if he's not going to turn things around. Now, looking through what Pettersson has, $11.6 million is Pettersson's contract, which is almost double on everyone's contract at forward for the Vancouver Canucks this season. Brock Boeser is set to walk in free agency. Suter is still not signed and a possible player to walk as well. But down the middle, the Canucks need to figure things out. If PD turns things around, yes, awesome. You get your first line center. If he's traded, you can acquire more players or picks to go out to get more centers. But at the current moment, with Pettersson being the top line center, Filip Hronek, Teddy Blueger, Suter, who is set to either walk or sign with the Canucks, Aatu Räty, Nils Åman, this might not get it done for the Canucks to make the push. We've seen them have their success when they had a top two centers of JT Miller and Pettersson. Going into the postseason, management has made it very clear that they want to go get a center via trade or free agency. This Canucks team has to figure out the centers. They need to figure out their forward group. As I've said many times, I think the defensemen are pretty well off. And I think it's a competent team on defense that could make a push, but the centers need to be figured out. A new winger, a new center. They need to add a lot. And this is where a possible PD trade, where you acquire two more pieces to make this retool, whatever you want to call it, a lot easier. Now, possibilities, you could go into free agency and say, hey, let's sign someone. There's a lot of guys hitting. John Tavares is probably not going to walk from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Nicholas Backstrom is a name that is close to retirement. We've seen him out the entire season with the Washington Capitals. Claude Giroux is a very interesting name. Maybe you see him come in as a veteran presence on that second line center. Brock Nelson, the same thing. Granlund could come in. Sam Bennett would be the perfect piece, but does seem like he's going to end up returning to the Florida Panthers. There's a lot of guys here that, yes, you could go out and sign, but it's going to be a bidding war heading into free agency as the Canucks try to figure this out on what to do at this center position. As I said, if you trade Pettersson, it's not like you can just go out, get draft capital and say, hey, let's go sign two guys. We're going to compete again. If you get Claude Giroux and Bennett, sure, that makes your team really good. But I don't think it's better than the current situation the Canucks are dealing with. Now, if you go out, you keep Pettersson, and you do sign a guy like Claude Giroux or Sam Bennett, then you have your center rotation of maybe Pettersson, Giroux, or Bennett. Then you can work your way down and sign someone like Suter, bring him back, put Teddy Blueger there, Nils Åman, Filip Hronek. This looks a lot better. But it does come down to this July 1st when that trade kicker really kicks in, because this is where we could see Pettersson and his camp say, hey, we don't want to leave. If they don't turn things around, you're stuck with us until we decide where we want to go. He could demand to go to a team that doesn't have the assets to give up for a star player. And listen, I know a star player, a lot of people's not going to like me saying that after the season that Pettersson had. Yes, it's not great. But a star player in my eyes, 26 years old, is a player that we've seen put up over 100 points. I think he can turn things around. A lot of fans are definitely going to disagree with me. A lot of the media will disagree with me as well. But we've seen that he can do it. We're hoping he can do it again. And if not, it really screws the Canucks for not only right now, but for the, like I've said, next 7 seasons, where they're stuck with someone that they can't really just decide their own future on unless they make a move now. But Canucks fans, what's your thoughts on this? What's your thoughts on all of just J.P. Barry's comments on the possibility of trade him, on how they're sure looking at possibilities that it might be Pettersson's end of his career? It's going to get very interesting with the Vancouver Canucks. So then leave a comment on what would be your preferred outcome, because mine would be Pettersson turning around, having 100 points again, but fans might feel differently. So let me know down in the comments. Way down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark Pye, and super tired today, but hopefully we're getting through this, and take care.